taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Hello and welcome everybody to my book chat. Hey, Kourtney, how are you doing?
I'm awesome. Super excited to be with you today.
I am too. I've been looking forward to this for a while. We've had to reschedule a couple times, so I thank you for your patience and bearing with me. But yeah, so you're the first like non-children's book I've had on for for a few weeks now. So we're getting into your book today. So thank you everybody for joining us, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Thank you so much. Today I have this amazing author. She co-wrote this wonderful book. I don't want to butcher it. So Principled, The Educator Survival Guide, Navigating the Leadership Learning Curve. And I always wonder, should I say Principal Ed or Principled?
Principled. Yep. Principled.
I do like how you have it though in your hashtag. So if you're following on Twitter, the ed part is capitalized. That's clever.
Yeah, it's a little play on words. I wrote it with two of my good friends, Kate Barker and Rachel George. We're all three principals in different regions of Oregon. So it was just really fun to collaborate with those women on a book about leadership.
Yes, I can imagine. And it's so cool. And the reason that I don't have your other two co-authors is because we're friends. This is like, I reached out to you. I'm like, you're my friend and I really want to have you on. It's just a good excuse to have a wonderful conversation, interrupt your busy daily life. You're a wife, you're a mom, an educator, leader. You've been you're a nationally distinguished principal. Like, I feel like I'm in the presence of royalty. I remember watching you go to DC to get the award. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's my Facebook friend. So it's so cool that you're here.
Well, you're very kind. No, really, I am just an educator. I was a former kindergarten teacher. I'm really passionate about improving systems for kids. And now I'm actually no longer a principal. I'm at the district office. So I am the director of curriculum instruction and assessment in McMinnville. And, I think in all of these roles, you got to keep your teacher heart real close and focus on that kid by kid approach and keep those stories front and center, because this job's pretty amazing, but gosh, is it hard sometimes, and especially now. So excited to be able to write this book. And it's really fun now that it's out there. It's a little bit like giving birth to a child, and then it's gone and it's out there, and you get these pictures from people who are reading it and connecting with it, and it's in the desert, or it's over in France, or it's someplace else, and it's just really exciting to be part of that larger community.
I totally get that, and I understand that, and I love it. So after reading a lot of what you wrote, I can definitely understand why you were recognized on a national level. Your heart comes through, and the thing is that and whether you're an administrator or whether you're a teacher, people can say like, oh, when you talk about your heart and your love for students, like that's fluff, like it needs to be data, blah, blah, blah. But there's this culmination where you have to have both, and one actually leads the other. And you put that in here in a very professional way, which is kind of funny because not funny, but it's just like when you're talking about the emotional part aspect of it, you do it very well. All three of you do it very well. I'm partial to you. I'm sorry, I'm biased. I'm just going to put it out there. But I love it.
So, that authenticity and leadership is really what brought Kate and Rachel and I together. Because when you get the principal gig, you're like, and especially in our situation, we were the only administrator in the building. And you have this kind of like, I just remember the first couple of months walking around and going, oh God, that's my job. And that's my job. And that's my, like, you're coming to me with that problem? I don't even know what to do with that. And there's a sense that you can't really admit that you don't know what you're doing yet. And one of the hardest aspects of the job is that you are standing witness to people's humanity. So you are, watching a family struggle through poverty. You're, standing next to the child that is having a conversation with DHS. You're, hearing the teacher talk about cancer treatments or, miscarriages or all the things, right? And
Right.
and if you close yourself off to that emotional piece of the work, you miss the opportunity to really, connect and build a bigger bridge. And one of my biggest pet peeves about our field is that we tend to have these pendulum swings where we have to do all academics or we have to do all SEL. And I just want to scream sometimes, this child is only going to be in first grade 1 year. They only get 1 year to be a seventh grader. We can't, it's not linear. It's both. We need to see amazing educators do that all the time. The best people of this craft lean in, and they are human, and they recognize these little people as incredible humans that can flourish and grow and give them, whatever opportunities can open. So I love it.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And thank you, Amanda, for watching and the whole child. Yes, I feel like we kind of got away from that for a while. We focused so much on, standardized testing. And you talk about in the beginning, or all of you talk about in the beginning, how, and you kind of just said this, it's all of it. It's not just working on culture and climate and the SEL and then not focusing on student achievement. It's focusing on what makes student achievement happen, and culture and climate and all of that is part of it. And you also talk about, and you just said it, building up teachers is so important in building up students. So you can't miss the mark with your staff. You can't miss the mark as a leader and expect there to be student achievement. It all goes hand in hand. I can't even imagine, you actually want to be a principal. You wanted to be a principal. That is crazy. That's hard. And you give us such an insight on that. And yeah, I got to say, I teared up quite a bit.
Thanks. I think what's really important to highlight is that I wasn't a very good principal at first. I am kind of a cerebral research kind of person, and I think I understood the work from a academic place, but nowhere in principal school do they teach you how to impact or change adult behavior. And that really is how you're successful, is your ability to change, to impact other grownups so that they can impact students. And I stumbled a lot my first year. I, blew people out of the water that I didn't even intend to, or, said things in a way that, because when you're a teacher in your own classroom, you control most of the situation, right? And there's a real shift when you go to leading a building and leading a community. It's not really about you anymore. It's about them. And that was, School of Hard Knocks. I made some big fumbles at first, but sorry, I won't bring up the Chiefs with my football analogy there.
That was cold. That was cold.
But
I was so close to healing. Rip off that Band-Aid.
But I think that I think about the Harry Bong book that we had, my first year of teaching. Someone handed me the first days of school. No one handed me a book when I became a principal. It was figure it out, sister. And it took a while. And so what we were hoping with this book is this is the book that we want you to have so that you can find your way through, because it's stinking hard sometimes.
For sure. And when we talk about your book, I told you a little bit a while ago. So when we open it up to the table of contents, you have all divided it. The part 1 is reflection, part 2 is the focus, part 3 is connect, part 4 is care. And I thought it surprised me that y'all started with reflection, because usually we save that to the end. But I really like how you started it at the beginning, because it paints that picture of why it's necessary to have like that network and that support. And y'all were very honest about how you grew through your principalship, and you were honest with your mistakes. And honestly, when I was reading it, I found myself feeling like some of the teachers that you had put in there. And another one of my favorite parts is when you wrote about having hard conversations. And I think that a good leader is able to have those hard conversations. And you wrote about how some of the people that you had to have hard conversations turned out to be like your best support system, like in your school. And that really resonated with me. And just curious, like, how was it having those hard conversations? What helped you to get better and to grow in that area?
Well, I'm a little bit stubborn. So people that know me and love me know that I can be a little hard-headed at times. And so when I was having, a terrible time my first year, thinking that maybe I would sell real estate instead of continuing in education, I also was like, I am not there. There's a famous story in my building about how I alphabetized the mailboxes and totally pissed people off. There were people that had the same mailbox for 20 years. They had like stickers and, it was decorated. And I'm just, trying to be my type A organizer. And it bothered me that they weren't in alphabetical order. And anyway, so I remember saying, to my supervisor, my superintendent, you might fire me at the end of this year. Like that might actually happen. I'm recognizing that right now, but I'm not going down because of mailboxes. And so like that stubbornness kind of led me into those hard conversations, because it was like, I understand that you hate my guts right now, and that, things are being talked about in the grapevine, but we're going to sit here. I want to understand what I've done and I want to do better. And so I'm going to ask you to be really real with me. And I think it kind of surprised people, especially the one instance that I talked about in the book with my friend Kat. I was like, I'm opening myself up, like, please, I want you to tell me all the things. And she was kind of like, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. And then the next day she did. She came in, we both cried. It was hard. But I think as leaders, we have to embrace our imperfection. And, you weren't a great teacher your first year in the classroom. I was terrible. I need to apologize to those students and their families probably.
I do too. I apologize if you're watching.
Yes, honestly. Sorry, Liam. There's more than that. But anyway, I think that we have to, like, that growth mindset that we're asking of our students, that leaning into discomfort, that being relentless about improvement is critical. And that's one of the reasons why we started the book with reflection, because you can't just start with your plan if you don't reflect on where you're at, and you need to reflect on where your community's at and where your adults at, where are your students, all of those pieces. It's no longer about you. It's about this community that you have this blessing and opportunity to lead. And so you have to reflect and get to know them and get to know yourself in order to find the way through. Otherwise, you're going to hit a bunch of walls and rocks, and you probably will anyways. But
yeah, but it's the difference of making it through all of that, or just, and you're, right there dying kind of in the place of, I can see no growth anyway. What was it like? Because although all three of you are living in Oregon, what was it like writing a book with two other people in two different places?
Yeah, so Kate and Rachel and I met through we were on a board with school administrators in our state. COSA is the name of it. And so we would travel together to conferences. And so a lot of this book, it was just so nice to kind of find people outside of your district who were like-minded with high expectations for student achievement and deep love and like authenticity in their community. And so we would, have, our favorite beverages in hotel lobbies and just start kind of having these conversations. And we'd look up and it would be like deep into the evening, and we hadn't come up for air. And so we started writing, little vignettes or even just blogs together, and really found like we had some synergy there. And we also attended a national conference and went to a session about writing a book together. And what we learned was that you didn't have to like finish the whole book before you kind of shop the process. So we landed on a table of contents, like we met at a Starbucks in a midpoint and planned our table of contents and our introduction. And like, I think we wrote a chapter or two. And then had a conversation with Dave and Shelley Burgess, and they gave us this amazing opportunity. And so, it was really an interesting, none of us had written a book before, and we tried a couple of different methods for writing collaboratively. Like we started with, okay, we're all going to write the same chapter, and then we'll just merge them. But that didn't really work. Because it was like,
I can't even imagine.
How do you choose which one's stuff to put in, which one's not? It was a mess. So then the one that we landed on the best was we would get together and we would kind of brainstorm for the chapter, and then someone would take notes, and we'd just kind of, put a brain dump there. And then one person would take the lead for writing the chapter, and then we'd bring it back, and the other two would go through and edit. And then also one of the parts that I love about our book is that in each chapter, there's a vignette, which is written from our own voice about our own experience. And so that combination kind of gave us the opportunity to, share our voice in a way that made sense.
Yeah, I love that. So how did COVID throw a wrench in your plans? And how did it change your book?
It was such a bummer because we had just submitted the book maybe a month before COVID hit. And we had these like plans for, going to the beach for a weekend and editing, or headed up to the mountain, for another weekend, and, writing while the snow's falling, all of these things. Well, none of that happened, of course. And we got really great at Google Hangout and Zoom, and, kind of collaborating electronically. Thank goodness for that. The book is about navigating leadership learning curves, and how it's not just at the beginning of your career, but it's at any point. Like if you're, trying to take on something new, or if, there's a global pandemic that we're all like thrust into the learning curve. So it really was a good fit for the time, actually. And we were able, through the editing process, to kind of weave in some of our experiences with the pandemic and, all the things that have been the world these days.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that does, like, all the things you missed out on. Dang, it sounds amazing, which is why I want to move to McMinnville, Oregon myself. I want to experience all of that.
Yeah, we're going to be best friends and neighbors.
That is so cool that you were still able. Yes. I hope so. That would be amazing. And I'm smiling, but I seriously hope it happens someday. We can all dream, right? It's what fuels us. But oh my gosh, where was I going? No, I'm just thinking about all my life and drinking in the winery in McMinnville. We were so What has the response been since, like, what is your favorite? I read, and a lot of people gave you praise, like our mutual friend and your really close friend, Dr. Amy Fast, like she was praising it. And what has the response been that's really meant a lot to you since it's been released?
Well, kind of the biggest excitement for us was when Dr. John Hattie endorsed the book. And I am a huge Hattie fan, and my staff used to give me a bad time that we should actually celebrate his birthday because he feels like part of the staff. And anyway, so when we were
he does have very good words.
when we were in the endorsement part, we sent him the book, and he not only like just endorsed it, but he like gave us really awesome feedback, and I had the opportunity to interact with him in December, and just kind of to hear, here's this huge brain of a guy, and what he was talking about was that this book really kind of shows the practical ways to implement the things that mean a lot to him. So that was really awesome. But I think more than that, just hearing on Twitter and in other places, those new administrators that are really struggling, and they're kind of at that place that I was, where they were thinking about leaving the field or thinking about not feeling successful in your job. That sucks when you feel that way, and to kind of not be able to see the forest between the trees. Like, someone talked about this book being kind of like a beacon of light to help them through. And that means the world. It's like that was the why behind all of this work.
Yeah, that is awesome. I mean, he had some really great words too. He's like, it's writing from the heart and soul, and a must-have book for future, new, and experienced school leaders. So, hey, he wrote a lot more than that, but yeah, like that's pretty amazing to get his endorsement. So cool. Congratulations.
I had a little fangirl moment, in my house when I got the email, and I'm like, telling my husband, Kevin, oh my God. And he's like, who even is that? And I'm like, never mind. Never mind.
That's what they're good for. Our husbands are good for bringing us back down to earth. So cool. We have just talked up, like we're getting so close to the end of our time. But if you're watching, you don't know this, but I asked Kourtney, what's your favorite part? And I asked her before I revealed my favorite part, and because I had a feeling it might be the same. And so I asked her, and it turned out to be the same. I just kind of felt like I knew that. That's how connected I feel to you in such a very strange way. Sorry. Yes. So do you mind reading? It's not very long, but y'all, this is such a beautiful tribute to public school in your area, but also to your wonderful mother. And it just, oh my God, it made me cry. So.
So this is a part of the book where we're talking about connecting to our why for the work, and kind of like what gets you out of bed every morning. So a principle changed the trajectory in my own family. In 1960, my mom found herself pregnant while she was in high school. In those days, it was expected that she would drop out of school. She wasn't allowed to attend during the day, as she would be a bad influence on the other girls. My grandparents forced her to get married and planned for her to stop her education. Her principal changed all that. He contacted my grandparents and told them that she was too talented to stop learning. He wanted to offer something bold, an opportunity for her to return in the evenings after the other students had left, so that she could keep up with her classes. Despite the fact that my mom had 2 babies by the time she was 19, she graduated from high school with high marks. She went on to be the first in her family to go to college and has had an incredible career as a nurse manager. This happened because an educator made a decision to believe in her potential. School administrators have the power to remove obstacles and barriers in order to promote equity in ways that can shift entire futures, not just for the student at hand, but their children and their children's children. So much of the work is laborious, sure, but man, not many other professions can say the same. It gets me out of bed every day. It heightens my expectations, and it grounds me in my resolve to continue the relentless pursuit and the belief that every child has an unlimited capacity to learn.
Wow, that's beautiful. And yeah, that is so beautiful. Your mother, I know that you're very close to your mother. I know that your kids are very close to your mother. And I think, wow, that is just such a beautiful tribute. And especially also to the administrator who really encouraged her to keep going. We don't live in the same times that we did then, but I just like, go ahead.
I hadn't told her that I had written about that. And actually, this story is one that's known in our family, but she hadn't she doesn't live in the same community that she grew up in. And so it wasn't really something that I think many people in our local community now knew about her, because she's just tough as nails and strong and just keeps going. And, anyway. And so I was a little bit worried that she would say no if I asked her whether I could include it in the book. But so I didn't tell her. And then I had the opportunity to give her one of the first copies that I received of the book and watch her read it. And it was a magical moment. She wasn't mad, so that's good.
That is really good that she wasn't mad. But I can imagine it was so magical. I am just, yes. I absolutely love this. And I feel like I'm not a principal. I mean, there are times that I thought about maybe leadership that I'm equipped with all of those hats. But I don't think that it's just for principal. I feel like teachers that are into leading and helping a community or want to understand how to approach their administration. I just feel like it's a good book for teachers too, and for teachers who just want to be better leaders, because I don't think as a classroom teacher that we're just supposed to stay in our room. Like, we are such an integral part of building the community. I've always felt that way. And I think that leadership, it has to come from every single classroom, honestly, to make a whole school for your whole children. But is that your intended audience? Is it just principals? Is it for teachers? Who were you writing this for?
No, it's for leaders who, of all levels. And, I think that how to decide where to put your focus and what to do to move forward, and how do you connect with other people to share ideas. It's really for all leaders, and not, we have had great feedback from people even outside of education. This is the schools are like little businesses and little communities. And so whether you're a community leader or a business leader or a school leader, the facets are the same. And that connecting with the human aspect, and then setting goals to help your, outcomes improve, that's universal.
Definitely. And I think even more so that COVID has shown us just how powerful schools are in our community. Everything kind of revolves around our school systems. And you even talk about, in the book, you guys write about how, just how branding is so important, about writing your own newsletters, not just making it, what you're going to be doing this next week, but putting your heart into it so that the community, your teachers and your parents and your students can see what is important to you and making that a priority. I just think this was a phenomenal book. I'm good to go. And I want to tell everybody, if you love a book and you love an author like I do, go to Amazon and give them a good review. It's hard for us to ask, but I tell you that if you love a book, and I'm going to do it right after we get off here because I don't want to forget to, this is a great book. And it's a great book. As a teacher, as an administrator, I love just how authentic you guys are, and sharing where your failures were, but how you've grown. And unfortunately,
You froze there.
We're blacking out. Yeah, we both did. Can you see me now?
I can see you now. Yeah. Oh, Melody, this was so fun. Thank you.
It was. And now that, it looks like technology is going to give us the boot anyway. Is there anything that you would like to impart to anybody who's watching before we go? Any last thoughts?
I want leaders across the nation and world to know that you're not alone, that this work is so rewarding and it is so challenging, and we're all in it together. And I know that, each little community feels like a silo sometimes, but we're so much smarter when we put our heads together and share ideas. And so follow us on our hashtag at hashtag Principal Ed Leaders, and we would love to connect with you.
Definitely. Please follow Kourtney at Kourtney Ferrua and hashtag Principal Ed Leaders. I know I'm following it. And thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. I will join with another author, Nicole Biscotti, next week. And if you are an author and you would like to come on my book chat, send me a book. I'll read it and then we'll chat about it. So just get in touch with me, and I'd love to have you and feature you on the show as well. Thank you to everybody who's been watching, and we appreciate you. We hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.